I think the more movement, the better. All right, here we go.
Ready. Action.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dimmer, the last bastion of truth in the music industry and one of the coolest places to get your music industry news. Welcome back to the artist interview segment. I'm super excited to be back here. I just launched the news segment last week. I don't know if anybody saw that. There's 2 episodes out right now. Something new that I'm doing, and it's basically I'm going to do like a weekly roundup of news that I find interesting in the industry and hopefully other people find interesting too. So go check that out. I think the next one will be out next weekend. So I put out 2 real quick, but hopefully I'll just get that up to once a week kind of thing until we take over the world and have 24-hour CNN constant broadcasting with a ticker tape. It'll probably come out weekly. But for now, we're back to the artist interviews, and I wanted to bring in my good friend from the great state of Vermont, the Bernie Sanders state.
Oh,
He's a multi-talented musician.
is it no longer Ben and Jerry's state?
He's an innovator. It is Ben and Jerry's state. He is an entrepreneur.
Careful now.
We're going to talk about all of this. What's up, dude? Welcome to the show, Mr. Alex Budney.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Do you know what a roundup is?
I do. I mean, I kind of do.
Drive or collect a number of people or animals together for a particular purpose.
Is that the Webster dictionary thing that you came prepared with?
No, I just looked it up real quick because it piqued my interest. And what exactly is a roundup?
It's kind of a roundup, and that's where Dimmer comes from too. I called it Daniel Marc's musical roundup rodeo. That's where it came from. Because everybody thinks so much about their brand, and like, I just didn't have one. I didn't have any name for it, and I figured just the most like bizarre, crazy thing. I was like, yeah, that's good. I can get behind that.
Yeah, kids are into it.
I think so. Or I think the kids are into it.
Yeah.
I'm hearing the kids are into it.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. I love you because I feel like we are kindred spirits on a musical journey. And I am so proud and lucky and grateful to know people in the state of Vermont and this kind of Nectar's scene, this little live music scene that's going on in Burlington. Because I was kind of thrust into it in a really random situation and like felt like I was pretty much accepted as a total new guy that's not from there. It's kind of like coming into a new high school or something. And you were a big part of that. You were right there kind of running things at Nectar's at that point. Yeah. And I so appreciate you just kind of being there and being a part of such a supportive community. It's really a beautiful thing that's going on up there. That has been going on for a while up there.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
It's just a beautiful community.
It is. It's a wild place. It's a wonderful place. But that Burlington, it's just a hotbed for talent and place to just, I don't know.
Why is that? Is it the jazz? Is it the jazz school? Is it Nectar's? Is it a couple? Is it Red's? Not Red Square, but is it Red Square?
I mean, I guess it depends who you ask. For me,
I'm asking you.
Fish had a lot to do with it.
Right. Okay.
Well, at least motivation for me to go to Burlington and just knowing that a band that I loved was a product of a scene, really, you know. And so I think that, that's just me. You know, people, sure, I'm sure like there's a whole like Johnson State College or what, it's not called Johnson State College anymore, but like there's like a whole scene that kind of, you know, was born out of that music program there that morphed into Burlington. And then, so I don't know. Yeah, there's just like all these kind of fostering things. Live music is really important to people who live there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it just fosters it.
But Fish brought you to Burlington.
I mean, I don't know. So, well, no, but sort of.
I mean, it does to a lot of people. I remember being in high school and we were like going, and that was like a cool town to be going to. It's like there's skiing and it's like where Fish was big, and there's a pretty good live music scene and a good jazz program even at UVM.
Yeah. I mean, but Vermont was always on my radar because I had family up here. I grew up in Connecticut, so I visited a lot. I could somewhere along the line, I knew I wanted to live in Vermont, and I don't think Burlington was actually put on my radar until I started following Fish, you know, when I was 14, 15 or whatever.
So you're actually from Connecticut. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So when did you move to Burlington for school?
I moved to Poultney, Vermont.
Hello.
To go to Green Mountain College.
Shout out Poultney.
Green Mountain College no longer exists. The owner of Whistle Pig Whiskey bought it last year, but I moved there at age 17 to get out of Connecticut and just kind of run away, maybe in a good way, you know. And yeah, tried to do the college thing for a year and a half, but you know, I was a drummer when I moved there, so I like brought all my instruments to college and set them up in my room, and then had people come over and jam. Like, oh, Alex has a drum set, and you know, I eventually got a band, and then we just said, you know, the next move was move to Burlington, where everybody likes music, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah,
It's pretty
that's
amazing. I mean, so what was the connect there and finally actually getting to Nectar? And I want to talk about Nectars now because I want to get it out of the way because we have a lot of stuff to talk about.
that's cool, man. I can talk about Nectar. I mean, I
But
spent
it's super important. Well, I just feel,
yeah,
I think it's important to me just because, I did the running the club thing for a while. So
yeah.
I find that I get that side of the business and it's like such a
Oh,
crazy side of the business, but it was beautiful to see Nectar's working, like going upstairs to that third floor. Like
yeah,
when I first got there, when it was going with you and everything, it was kind
yeah,
of a very cool thing. And we take that kind of thing for granted, that energy for granted that was swirling around there when you were
yeah,
at the helm.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I got to Nectar's because, you know, I was working at a pizza joint and the manager moved, you know, he went to run Nectar's when it was sold from, you know, when Nectar sold it to old, you know, the second time Nectar sold it. And he took me with him like a couple months later. He said, "Hey, why don't you come over and work at Nectar's?" And then I got a job there working as a gravy fry cook,
That's
and they
right.
gave me a rehearsal space in the basement for my college band. So we rehearsed in the basement of Nectar's for 4 days a week. It was back when like bands would run their own sound, so we would be like kind of the default like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. Like, can you come upstairs? You know, out of rehearsal, and so you know, between rehearsing in the basement 4 nights a week for 4 hours each day, and cooking on what was the cafeteria line in the front, I got to meet all the musicians, you know, and majority of the ones that played there at that time, and even still were local musicians. And so that's kind of where I got my start. I floated around into the other positions and everything. And then one day the owner was like, the old talent buyer was out. And, hey, you want to do this? I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like literally handed me like a physical calendar. And he didn't either, the owner at the time. And we became quite close and we kind of just figured it out together. I mean, it's a long story, but yeah, figured it out. I mean, no formal training and not necessarily a business that I wanted to jump into. I mean, I wanted to be a musician, you know, but
Right.
I said, hey, you know, this guy's giving me this opportunity. Probably learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did you get a budget right away and that was that, or were you working closely together with him? I want to know how much free reign you had because I remember my first promoting job, I had some free reign, which was really cool on the side of our owner. He didn't really know. He was just like, "Yeah, people are coming in. This is great."
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing and I had next to zero budget. It
Right.
was it was like,
Right.
you know,
But
not
it's already
much.
an established club. I mean, are people coming in? Or
So yeah, sure, people were
I mean, people are coming in. What I mean, are bands coming in? If you don't have a
I could
budget, it
not
seems like
keep
big bands want to play there.
I could not keep up with the amount of people who wanted to play there.
Sure,
Most of
that's
the
a
time,
good
you know, they
problem.
call it a talent buyer. It's like I didn't really like go into work and be like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like, let's call Charlie Hunter or whatever. Like those, that was few and far between. It was like, oh my god, we just got 30 emails. Like maybe we can get through this by the end of the day.
Right.
And there was a lot of that because you want to give people the chance. You want to, you know, you want to book bands and I don't know. It was just kind. I think my experience early on, I don't know, was much different than others. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and Nectar's just, you know, the brand and the history of it. Yeah, everybody wanted to play there.
It's like the minor leagues, but it's like, it's like the top of the minor leagues. It feels
Yeah,
like, everybody knows about it. Even when I was like, I didn't have to say much to start telling some people that I went to school with because I'd been running the club. Wasn't playing any music at all for 5 years.
yeah.
He'd be like, well, what are you playing? Like, I'm playing some gigs at Nectar's. I was like, oh, he's on the scene. Okay,
You're good.
cool. You don't have to say anything more than that in the Northeast.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
It's a very cool spot like that.
it is. And thankfully, by the time I was booking the music, they had done the major renovations of moving the stage and adding a sound system and a sound technician. So, being a small room, you know, it's 220 capacity,
Mm-hmm.
but still having like there's way too much PA in there for a small room. But just the fact of that, a sound guy who's, as you know, very professional, Sergey, and you get to walking away with not a multi-track, but a very well mixed CD in hand after
Oh, it's
was
awesome.
like huge for bands. You
That
know what
is
I mean?
huge.
There's like a lot of bands put that out. Like
Not to mention
maybe mastered.
Sergey has stuff that nobody else had. Like he was playing Derek Trucks in there from like the 90s when Derek was playing there.
He has
I was like, what?
he
This
has
is
a
like lost
huge
recordings of Kofi.
oh he has crazy recordings. I mean, from when he was doing metronome before he came down to Nexus, he was just a metronome sound guy, not just a metronome. He was a metronome sound guy, and he would always tell stories about like the Nakamichi tape deck under the soundboard, and like he gave me the recording of Band from Utopia, which was like Zappa's band after Zappa died. It was like a
Mhm.
year or two after, so it was like
Whoa,
still Zappa's band. They were still rehearsed,
whoa.
and you can't tell anyone about this recording, like blah, 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 that type of thing. But it's definitely
Of
out
course.
there. But it's unbelievable. But yeah, like it's just those parts of the business really was an added bonus and really attracted a lot of bands once they did the renovations and stuff. So that was just like, oh great, more people want to play here.
It's a dope room. And for people that don't know, Metronome is the club upstairs. Like Nectar's is split into two things. A lot of people don't know that, but they call that upstairs club Metronome. The bottom is the smaller room. I think it's a smaller room, even though it's kind of two
Same.
rooms joined. Is it the same? Same
Same
capacity?
capacity, basically, give or take 20 people or something.
It's so cool. And the thing is with BSP in Kingston, I always envied Nectar's just for having like a lot of that infrastructure and it looked raw. Like I said,
Mm.
we might take things for granted, but like
Mm.
you should have seen our office at BSP. It was like a dank basement with like we're just in the basement
Yeah.
trying to talent buy or whatever, trying to
Windows
run a
with no
business.
windows. Yeah.
No windows, and then it was like the 200-person club in the front. I don't know if you were ever there, but it's like a little club in the front, looked like a club, but then the back was like it's 20,000 square feet. It was like a humongous. So we had Dopapod play there, and you could fit 800 people in there easily.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of awesome people play both rooms, but it was like so raw. It was like so seeing like even what you could do with a semi raw space like Metronome, just like a long room.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So a lot of good nights in there. I mean, come on,
Jeez.
pretty amazing.
It's just kind of crazy. I could, yeah. Like I said, literally spent the majority of my adult life in that building. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. But now you say it's
single.
so far from you.
What's that?
Now you say it's far from you. We're talking. You
That
feel like,
life?
yeah, I guess so. You feel like it's like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. No, it's, I guess when you and I met, I was always kind of 1 foot out the door in my mind anyway. Kind of just like, you get kind of burnt out on it. And,
Mm-hmm.
when
I get that, man.
and like the stuff I'm saying, it was great that like bands would contact you all the time, but it was also, it's a daunting thing. You want to take care of everybody, you want to treat everybody equal, you want to pay well, all that stuff. But then you got to start like doing business, you know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
it
Isn't
just
that the
ended up,
worst? And especially if you want to be a musician, it's like those
yeah.
two halves of your brains work against each other a lot of the time.
And there was no way around the fact that we were the little guy. I mean, strictly based on capacity alone, a lot of, you know, like I mentioned, if I just wanted to go out there and be a talent buyer, it's coming to work and be like, okay, these are the bands I want to work on today, and I'm not going to ignore my emails and I'm going to go out and contact these agencies. Like, you'd strike out more often than you'd like get a hit because it's small. You
Mm.
can only sell so many tickets. If you're dealing with these big agencies, they're going to go to a bigger room, whether it's not a great room.
Right, right.
They look past all these things that we're talking about, all
Yeah,
these
yeah,
benefits. I mean, it's just like it's numbers thing, and that it bums you out, kind of.
yeah.
But it wasn't all that. I mean, obviously, tons of good times and amazing shows, and lots of you know, um, agents and stuff that I worked with that loved Nectar for what it is, really understood what we were doing and fostering the scene and really building bands is what kind of we did, and there were a lot of people who knew that and were right there with us.
Oh my God. Yeah, you guys have built a lot of people's careers. A lot of people owe a lot to you guys and the system that was built there. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. But it is kind of heartbreaking. I remember also when I left BSP, have you ever seen, I don't know if you've seen the movie Pi by Darren Aronofsky, but if anybody knows that, it's a really like one of those dark movies. He did Requiem for a Dream. And
Okay.
this guy basically
Oh, wait, maybe.
spoiler alert, but the guy at the end of the movie, he basically goes crazy because he's trying to crack the stock market, and he drives him crazy. So he drills a hole in his head at the end of the movie to kind of give himself a lobotomy. But he wakes up the next day, and it's the first time that he's just like enjoyed the birds and like is smelling the air. He's like not worried about everything, and like he's like it's the first time he's happy. And I felt like very much that end of the scene. People were like, "What's going on at BSB? What's going on at BSB?" And it was the first time where I was like, "I don't know." And it was like the best feeling ever. And I'm
Yeah,
like, you got
yeah.
to ask somebody else now.
I mean, people still
But I
ask.
get that.
People still ask. People are
Me
still,
too.
and like conversations with people close to me. They don't realize, or maybe they can't accept that I'm like removed from it. They're like, "What do
Yeah, I
what do you
can't.
mean? What's going on down there?" And I'm just like, "I don't know."
Yeah,
I mean,
it's such a trip.
and I don't know. I mean, I do miss it. I check in every once in a while. There's Nectar's is still there. They're going to open. They have plans to open in April. They have a meeting to, they kind of figured things out last year with the pandemic, doing the shows in the back and DJ shows inside. And they had a nice formula and they went through all the proper channels and they're gonna come out swinging. I think in April, doing what they were doing, and
Good.
it's not going anywhere. And thank God, because
Well, you heard it here. That's good. That's good that we heard it here because I'm
yeah,
sure a lot of people are worried about that. And there's a
yeah,
lot of
people don't
people.
know. Yeah, spread the word.
Well, hey, listen, music industry burnt to the ground, burnt to
Yeah,
the ground. Lisa burnt it to the ground.
jeez.
And it really did. It was crazy. And
Yeah.
I didn't really, even on tour in March, I was like, no, we're not going to get put off the road. Like they wouldn't cancel us on the road. Anyway, it was
Yeah,
crazy the
it is.
lack of gigs and that people gave up music entirely. So and people had to pivot and everything just to survive. And that's
It's
just
been stuck in my head since you says it. As he said it the other day.
what.
Pivot. You got to pivot.
Well, it's true though. I don't know. Is that a stupid thing to say? Is that a
No,
bad word? It's
no. I
true.
think I think it's true, and it's a very important perspective to keep in the back of your mind. I come back to just hitting pause because it's kind of like music related to me, and like that's
Mm,
sort of life as a musician. Now we're so I left Nectar's years ago, and then became this full-time musician. Took the plunge, and amazing dreams come true, and then obviously all of our everything ended.
right.
And but I just pivoting and hitting pause and finding something else with the hope and just knowing that things are going to come back. It's strong stuff, and we're all capable of doing that. And I think a lot of people have adapted in
Yeah.
one way or another.
I think thank God artists are some of the best people at doing that, at
Yeah,
pivoting, at figuring out how to survive, in
yeah,
the struggle and like move through. So thank God at least artists can do that.
yeah.
And many I've seen it. I mean, I've reported on it all the different ways. I mean, this is part of the reason why I'm doing the podcast is to inform people about how people are doing that. But there's a whole spectrum of it. It's like
Mm,
the music industry is coming back, but there's a lot of people who are like, that was it. That was the final blow for them. And I
yeah,
just always figured myself a music industry lifer.
yeah,
I don't know. Like something
yeah.
always, it doesn't matter what else I'm doing. I always have like basically my life has just always been focused on music for whatever.
Has
For
it crossed your mind though? Have you
yeah.
asked yourself like,
Has it crossed?
okay,
Yeah,
maybe this is it?
it's crossed my conversations with my parents about every single time I talk to them. Yeah,
I'm
of
sure.
course it's crossed my mind.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. My brother is a lawyer on Long Island. My
yeah.
brother is like a Harvard graduated lawyer on Long Island. It's like just a different. My father's a rabbi. It's like
Mhm.
I'm definitely took like a weird path, but my parents are very supportive about
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Like they're always like follow your dreams and follow your gut, which I've
yeah,
always done. But yeah,
yeah,
I've thought about it. And what have I? Yeah, I don't know. The more that I think about it, the more I get ideas to do crazy stuff like this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The more I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, oh, I can do that. And I just kind of pour myself into different parts of the work.
yeah,
So I don't know. I'm lucky right now that I can do that
yeah,
and just kind of keep this thing going. But I don't know. It's just kind of like I just feel like I owe it to music to always push and dig. Just like learning an instrument, I feel like in the industry, it's the same thing for me too. Like I just owe it to I love the business
yeah,
like I love music. And
yeah,
so I owe it to the business to just be a part of it in
yeah,
whichever way I'm gonna end up being.
yeah. Yeah,
It's weird.
I could say in the same breath that I got burnt out from Nexus and I had to get out of it. But when I think about it, it's I ended up running an open mic, and like you know, I mean, running an open mic is not easy. There's a lot to coordinate there, I think. But like even that little bit of which kind of turned into me like booking shows at this. Oh wait, you were there at the local folk smokehouse, didn't
Lofos
you?
Moho, and that was awesome. But that's
Yeah. So
you
like,
because whatever you're gonna do is gonna turn into a good scene, and
yeah,
people know
I hope so.
it was just because it's your spirit. It's just like easy, like Lofos Moho. It was just like a really fun, easy gig,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it was a good vibe. And
yeah.
so,
Community vibe, like all that, you know.
and you know what you're doing, so people are obviously going to come to you, and you're just like, that's what I guess sucks you back in, is because
Yeah,
especially maybe up there, it's few and far between that somebody's like, oh, here's a good person, which is hard to come by. It's like here's a good person that knows what he's doing. Call Alex and see what the deal is.
yeah. I've been definitely fortunate here in the Mad River Valley to like be welcomed with open arms and have some really
Yeah.
awesome opportunities to do cool stuff. So I yeah, never get I don't think I could ever get out of it.
Yeah, I think opportunity. I was just talking
It's
about this with my
different.
buddy. I think opportunities will present themselves organically a lot of the time. It's,
Hmm.
like life is what happens when you make other plans, but you always have to be ready for it and just pushing for it. So I'm always just, it's just a kernel of an idea. People ask me, or like people are giving me tips on the news show that I just put out, like the
Mhm.
second episode of the news show. And that's cool. I really appreciate that people are engaging, but on the same thing, I'm like, yo, I just started. They're like, it's not ESPN. I have a $0 budget with a 1-person crew.
Yeah, yeah. Got to start somewhere.
And the fact that even content is like, but so people are funny, and man, and kids are like great with it. I watch like this and TikTok has made it a lot easier to edit video, and I see what like some of our colleagues are doing, like Lyle Brewer is or even on TikTok, and
Yeah, what an amazing musician.
I've love Lyle so
Oh
much.
my
Were you
god.
managing him for a minute?
No, no, no.
Who was
He Ricky of Pink
oh,
Talking
that was it,
Richard Chase.
that was it, yeah,
I think he still
Ricky.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, but Lyle is amazing.
Oh my god.
And
And what a record.
yeah, I subscribe to
Wow.
his Patreon. I have his book of etudes, and I'm on his Patreon because he's like just also just like super nice. What a good
Amazing.
vibe. I think a lot of the time you're buying into somebody's personality. You don't mind if somebody's not even that active on the Patreon, and he is. He posts regularly,
Yeah.
but if he misses a week, it's like
Yeah, he'll be there.
Lyle's just such a nice dude. And yeah, if people don't know about him, he puts out a bunch of instrumental guitar music, and he's done
Oh my
some
god.
Grateful
It's
Dead
beautiful.
transcriptions. He's got a book of etudes. Awesome.
Etudes.
Etude studies.
Oh, of course.
Attitudes. A-2, A+ tudes.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, these little study. It's cool. He did a little book, or somebody did it for him, but it's like almost like a little like a long flip book, and it has 10 little Lyle things in them where you're going to learn a different kind of
Oh wait,
concept.
that's super cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So talk about pivoting and kind of like Lyle's another person kind of putting out some merch like that. If there's not live shows, there's ways to kind of do merch. I'm so far behind in it. I don't
Mm.
even have a store or anything like that. Anytime I do ads, I don't
It's
really sell
hard.
anything. What?
It's hard. It's a hard thing to get into
I
and keep
know.
up with, and
And I think you have to have it's so hard, and you have to have some like, I don't know, some ego about it, or something like that. That's why I like Dimmer. That's why I'm trying to do this thing, which is more like education based and kind of like ideal based, because I don't like being like Dale Mark this and Dale Mark that yet. But maybe I can build other positive things about me, because I'm like, oh man, Daniel Mark. It's cool. I mean, I'm glad that people dig the music, but I'm like, damn, Dale Mark is a flawed person. Like, they have a sticker with my name on it. Like, okay, cool, man.
yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, so talking about pivoting, and I'm interested in this too. Hope this mic isn't popping too much. I'll turn this down a little bit. I'm interested about this too, and this was an idea that you've been talking about now. This kind of new endeavor that you've been doing. So I want to talk about that for a minute, which is basically these DJ Steelwool, which is your DJ name,
Yeah.
and
Steel
these
wool.
Steel Bull, and these Woolly Wednesdays,
Yeah.
and
Woolly Wednesdays.
I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited. It's like, so okay, so you're DJing, and you started it from your basement. You're basically doing basement streams.
Yeah, like right when this thing hit, we were all home, like freaking out, me included. I just set up my turntables and got to know my record collection, and just streamed like what felt nonstop for weeks. It was like
Love it.
4 times a week for like 3 4 hours at a time, and it was just as much like, you know, it was vinyl, so I wasn't really mixing a lot. So there was a lot of, it was on Facebook, so there was a lot of like people, you know, I was engaging with people and talking with people, and like, you know, a lot of people reached out to me after and were like, that kind of like, you know, helped.
Oh, it was, yeah, therapeutic, sure.
You know what I mean? Just like you can forget about whatever and just look at me being a fool on the camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I got banned from Facebook because of DJing copyrights and all that. And so, and
That's
then
crazy. That's all so stupid, but okay, yes.
yeah, I got banned for 3 months and started to go pursue like other platforms, and then it, you know, got warm, so the streaming thing kind of died down a little bit. But um, you know, I ended up getting taking that energy, what I was doing in the basement, I got an FM radio show, so that kind of got me through the summer, and that's been awesome. But
And this is also what I'm talking about here is like that's like a good value, I think, is like pushing something like a kernel of an idea that's organic that you can get behind with your heart, like gets you the FM radio show.
yeah,
You don't call the FM station and be like, I'm a DJ. You fucking make your own show
yeah,
and make a hip little thing, and you get, I don't know how it came, but that is the way that happens 95% of the time.
yeah,
So you got the DJ show, you got the FM radio show rather.
yeah, and it was something I trained for actually when I moved here years ago, but I just like combination of like nerves and being too busy and whatever. But I was like, okay, you know, I'm not gonna get bummed out because I'm banned from Facebook. Like, it's just another change. And so I saw this FM thing. I was like, oh, I trained for this. I'm going to go train again. When they were closed for renovation at the time. So as soon as they opened, I got a show. And so that kind of got me through, you know, doing that type of thing. And then, you know, it got cold again. And I was like, okay, I want to start doing these streams from my basement, and landed on Wednesdays from 6 to 9. Just be I have some part-time jobs and stuff, and it just worked out really well. And then that turned into Woolly Wednesdays, and so that went on for a couple weeks. Let's see, so this past week, this was week 6, so yeah, 5 weeks. But it was on that 5th week where I was like, what can I do different? I don't know where, I don't know, it just popped, you know, like you were saying, like these things just pop into your head. You're like, that's not too difficult to do, let's just do that. You know, basically, I have a nice captive audience. I promote heavily on what's called Front Porch Forum, and it's an email based kind of talk to your neighbors, communicate with your neighbors type of deal. And I've been going hard on that, so I get like all these folks from the Mad River Valley and coming to this platform, which is Mixcloud, that I do it on, and now I get I have a lot of regulars. And
it's hyper localized. I actually
yeah,
I love that, because when you're on the internet, you're constantly thinking, well, how can I get somebody in Jakarta to listen? But you've
yeah,
actually taken the other route where you're like, let me get on Mad River Valley's
yeah,
email chain and be like, yo, I'm like down the block doing this. Let's
totally.
do the hang, and you light a fire and we'll hang. I'll be
Yeah,
down the street. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's like
What? Yeah.
really cool. It's like this odd Mixcloud is a British company, so you get the mix of I have some pretty hardcore regulars from the United Kingdom, and then the Mad River Valley.
That's awesome.
And so I was like, okay, well, you know, I was thinking about what we were talking about Nectars, and like people ask me like, what's going on with Nectars? Oh, you know, I think Sean Priest and I went skiing. He was snowboarding. And he's like, oh, I heard a rumor Nectars is sold. You know, that's another thing that comes up all the time. It's like, oh, I heard this. You know, the rumor mill ends up, you know, at my doorstep. And it's like, no. But that you know, it makes me think. I mean, it's quiet there. There's nothing going on. People are wondering, you know. So that's where these things come up. So I'm like, okay, what can I do to tell these people? I mean, I have at the very least these 15 to 20 people who watch me every week, you know, who are music fans. If I can show them that Nectar's is still open and we still need to like there is hope there, and we need to be positively thinking about these places and doing whatever we can to make sure that when they're back, we support it. And so I decided to go Woolly Wednesday World Tour, Winter Tour, not World Tour, Winter Tour. And so I contacted, you know, Nectar's obviously with the connection there. They said, of course, you know,
Right.
do it here next week. And then that turned into calls to the Rusty you know, I was like, okay, I'm going to reach out. Priority is these places that are temporarily closed. You know, some places, menu venues, restaurants are still open, but they're not doing music. But I said, I'm going to do some of these ones that are closed. So Nectars, I'm doing Rusty Nail. in Stowe. Um, there's a chance I'll do the Flynn Theater, and
Amazing.
yeah. But my pitch is like I'm totally self-contained. I all I need is power and lights because I don't need the sound system. You know, I
Right.
travel alone. Um, if someone's got to be there watching and locking the door, or whatever. Fine, stay away from me. And I'm
I'm
just
like
gonna,
stoked about that idea. I think that that's
yeah,
like a brilliant idea because for so
yeah.
many reasons. I mean, I just think it's great,
And they
and
don't have to pay me
people would
anything.
want
Like
to have you.
I'm asking for tips, and then
Right.
I'm splitting tips and putting a donation up there for a different nonprofit as well. So there's that in the fold. And
Hmm.
last week I did Spectrum Youth and Family Services in Burlington. Um, so yeah, it's kind of morphing a little bit, and it's giving all my fans something cool to look at and bringing some awareness. Like, oh yeah, Nectar's is there. I saw Alex DJ there.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's really cool and it's very exciting, and it's just making my brain kind of twinkle a little bit with these ideas.
Yeah, which I think is good. I mean, if you feel like you're on something like that, it feels organic. It feels good. I got excited when you told me about that.
I
I
think
think
it's a
that
good
there's
idea. I think more people should do it. I think solo musicians and stuff like it,
yeah,
there's no way any club owner whose club is closed temporarily. I don't know why they would say no. They don't have to pay you. They have to pay for lights, and electricity, and that's
right.
it. You know what I mean? It's not like you're playing for free either. Like people will tip you. Like it's a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
Oh.
The problem is that most musicians are not great businessmen, and there's like a weird level there, that like middle level is a weird level, and there needs to be some sort of like streamlined way to do it, but you're the trailblazer doing it.
Yeah.
That's why I said innovator at the top of the show is exactly because of that idea. I think that idea is like a stroke of genius to
Yeah.
do something like that. What venue wouldn't want that? It's absolutely like literally you just turn on the lights for 3 hours and send one crew guy, and there's no sound. I mean, you're asking
You're
for.
bringing people joy.
I think that that's something that could go to the Beacon Theater or like be like even crazier. Like you could do something from like Red Rocks, honestly, and do like Wednesday night, like Woolly Wednesdays from Red Rocks. Like that's
Why not?
funny. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like
unless it's like
perfect.
some big corporation and there's like some kind of red tape or anything. But like I pitched it to the Flynn Theater and they wrote me back immediately like, "This is a great idea." I'm
I
like,
think
wait
it's
a minute, I'm
beautiful.
about to have my first headlining gig at the Flynn Theater by myself.
Right, that's what we were laughing about. You're just telling me that. I was like, wow, that's perfect. And I like that it's
I don't know if that's gonna
engaging.
happen.
Well, I'm sending
Yeah.
hope to the universe that it does
Just the fact that
happen.
they got back to me and were into it is like good.
It's very cool. It's very cool, isn't it? We're lucky to kind of be in there. I still feel like lucky and grateful. I mean, I like talk to Melvin Seals on the regular on the phone. It's just weird, and it's very regular to me now. But I feel like so grateful. Or we were talking about this like O'Teal podcast, and these are all people that we've done business with, and I feel really lucky to be in that scene. It really is such a positive scene. It's kind
Totally.
of this live music scene and things from there. Yeah, I mean, I just reached out to Jambase. I'm releasing a single with Scott Guberman.
Nice.
I'm stoked on it.
Connecticut, also Connecticut.
Like kind of the Connecticut
Native, I
connection,
believe. Yeah. Shakedown.
but he's
That
the
was
most California. Now he's like so California.
totally.
I
What a
grab
guy.
his beard and everything. I love him, and he loves the Grateful Dead so much. And he played on the song Diamonds, and it's like it just sounds so Scott and so Grateful Dead. He just knows this kind of like very flowy language of like playing over these chord progressions, and so he basically is featured on the song. I give him this whole long solo. I was gonna take a guitar solo over the middle, and I was like, no, it's just Scott just sounds good. It was vibey.
When's
So
that coming
anyway,
up?
when is it's on? It's coming on Saturday.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I reached out to Jambase and I was like, "Do you got? Can we figure out something to like, And they were like, "Yeah," because they know me from Melvin. Because Melvin is, just done work with them, or we put our nugs.net, so I know the people over there. But
Nugs.net.
yeah,
Would you ever think Nugs.net
they're
would be that?
huge.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
They're
I was like,
huge.
oh, I remember Nugs.net at like the dawn of the internet or whatever.
I know.
Funny.
Well, they do a lot of those JGB streams, like the stuff from the Ardmore and stuff, and so that's how I'm in with Jambase, and they were super nice. I got to give a shout out to them, just like super nice and super helpful. So on one,
They were always great working at Nectar's. Always.
I said we're so lucky. On one hand, I feel like I take it for granted or whatever to be able to call these people or talk to these people. And on the other hand, I try and keep this like super grateful about it because I don't take everybody's phone call and like you can still screw it up. So I try and still be really nice. But like for example, I called Ron Holloway about a theory question that I had that was racking my brain, and like so I'm able to like just call Ron Holloway and ask him the question. And I don't know, that's like it didn't seem like anything, but after I hung up the phone, I was like, man, like should really be grateful
Mm.
for this stuff because we're gonna look back and I don't know those like small moments. That's like that's
Oh,
really
man.
lucky are the people that we've met, meeting.
So
Yeah, or I met or just the people we meet. I met Sean Lennon. I remember meeting Sean Lennon at BSP,
yeah.
and he had like seen my rock band in college because he knew because there was like some weird connection. And the band was called Crisco Fist.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and I was, and it was like a cock rock band basically. Played like you open with Pink Floyd, Have a Cigar. You play Transdermal Celebration.
Great.
It was awesome.
I love Crisco Fist.
It was awesome. It was a really great band. Play like Cult of Personality and that was our set.
Doug Wimbish. Living. Wait.
Yeah,
Wait. What band is that?
it's Living
Color.
Color. Mm-hmm.
Doug Wimbish, Connecticut.
Just amazing stuff. But yeah, so it's like Sean Lennon. Just anyway, so it's just kind of a beautiful thing. It really is. And or like even I had this cosmic experience with man, I had this crazy thing with theory, which nobody wants me to talk. I'm actually literally I call because I had such a trip on this thing. Nobody knows what we're talking about, but because I had such a trip on this thing, I've set up two extra. I have a dimmer coming up with Rob Compa. People can look out for that. The guitarist of Dopapod, who just got signed to C3 Management, teamed up with Live for Live Music, basically, which is really good partnership. It's good place for them to be. They need to be well taken care of. Those motherfuckers. I've known them for like forever. They were the first people that I booked. So I remember when it was a duo and it was a Michelangelo and Eli.
Oh, me too. I had a funny story about that. I almost brought
Go
it
ahead,
up.
please. Let's
Like when
let's
I
talk
met
about stories.
my best friend in high school, Nick Cassiopo, um, got married, and Eli was the keyboard player because
Okay.
he was maybe at Berkeley with our other friend Ken Pillard, or maybe I don't know. For whatever reason, he played it. My best friend's. This was long before Dopapod, and then yeah, he started playing at Nectar as a duo, and yeah,
Pretty amazing. Yeah, when they were playing like yeah. So you met them through there. Yeah, I saw them playing at the General Clinton pub in Oneonta. The two of them,
oh,
like where Mo started, basically.
I
Yeah.
went there once. The
Were
kid
you?
that
Did you?
yeah, because I had this intern, Pat McGowan, who worked there or just hung out there in college. He's close with like
Nobody actually works
Vinny.
there. You just hang out there, but nobody's actually ever worked at the Clinton pub anyway. You do just hang out there.
We could talk for hours,
Yeah.
you and I.
I know. I intend to. I'm actually very comfy right now. But so um, Dopapod signed on with C3 Management, and yeah, I know. I introduce one of their albums. I'm the voice on one of their live albums that opens the first album, and I say, "Ladies,
Really?
yes, I am." I don't get credited, but I'm on there. They
Wow.
told me. They told me they were like, "We're gonna put you on this like live." I saw live Dopapod Evil Was I Volume 1.
Oh.
And I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, please
Download.
welcome our good friends, Dopapod or whatever. And it goes into Freight Train. Anyway, so yeah, I know those guys forever and I love Rob. So anyway, he's been tripping out about this too. And like Oteil's been tripping out. I literally had a cosmic experience about this freaking thing. If people don't know about it, I just want to hip everybody to it real quick. And if this mic keeps popping, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, maybe it's
Can't
even
hear
not.
it.
Okay, good. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just coming through here. Um,
Background.
it's basically a major scale with a minor sixth. And people are like, is that kind of like the bebop scale? I guess so. I don't even know what the bebop scale is, but basically, what this guy Barry Harris, who is basically the greatest living bebop educator, he played with Charlie Parker. He knew, like, hung out with Thelonious Monk, knows all these guys, knows where the language came from. Basically, explains to you the real origin of the vocabulary, like what's going on and how these guys were seeing these chord changes. So when it clears up so much stuff harmonically and rhythmically. I implore everyone, because it's in the air. This is like something that's now it's been unleashed, because now I hear Krasno talking about it, I hear Oteil talking about it, and they're gassed. So everybody's just found out about this again. And Oteil was saying Oteil was saying that Kofi was trying to teach him this concept years ago, and was like, I've heard you play these kind of harmonic ideas, and Oteil didn't really know what he was talking about. Anyway, he comes to find out that this is actually stuff that he's been playing. So it was one of the reasons I was the reason I called Ron. I was like, do you know anything about this scale? And he was like, I think people play that. He didn't really know, but
Yeah,
not a lot of people know. But apparently Rob is super into this. And then I also have my buddy Sam Smith, who, if you don't know, you got to check him out.
Okay.
He's got a band called Art Thief, and he sounds like Thundercat on the bass. He's amazing. And then like he's writing all these funny songs about alien invasion and all this like random stuff. Really, really cool. Yeah.
I like Sam Smith.
Oh, dude, so good, so good. So we got to open a venue. We got to open a 500-person venue.
Oh, jeez, I'm done.
You're out of the game?
I'm out of it.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Not even if the great opportunity presented itself?
Not even. I don't think I could go back. You want to open a 50-person venue? Sure.
Well, that's my real dream. Something in like there is a dimension where I'm in Israel, like in Tel Aviv or something, and I just have a 6-person bar.
Yeah.
It's like me and you sitting on one side of it and just.
To be fair, who knows? Of course, if the right situation were to come up, but 500-person venue is the sweet spot.
I am so glad you said that, my friend, because you're right, absolutely right.
Is like that's something you can work with, in my opinion.
Me, absolutely. The numbers work at that point.
You can have a nice balance of like dealing with big agencies and bigger bands, and then also still like take care of like small bands. And I never been to the 930 Club, but I always like they would get venue of the year because they could like transform their venue from whatever size it is to like small, like all the speakers are on sliding things.
I never been there either,
but I'm pretty sure
that's very cool.
Front of house speakers and stuff, like if it's a low selling show or a small show or whatever, they can just like push a wall in the whole sound system, and all of a sudden the room's full.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
very cool. But yeah, the 500 is totally the sweet spot. It's what's needed in the Hudson Valley right now. It's like totally missing this kind of this middle between Burlington, basically, and New York City. There's a huge market for it. People are coming up now. I don't even want to say too much. If anybody knows, you have to call me beforehand. I'm the wizard on all this shit in New York. But basically, there is a huge gap right now. Like the Chance closed, BSP closed, everything like really burnt to the ground. It was so crazy, and people are going to need that now. So a lot of people are, I think the people that are thinking about it right now are the ones that are going to get in, and the people that are like waiting. It felt good. I felt like to take a year off. That actually, I felt like a lot of other musicians like really burnt out towards the end of 2019.
Yeah.
It was kind of like coming at like a fever. There didn't seem like any end in sight, right? But it wasn't like anything was literally like growing in money. It was just like, okay, like it was a crazy rigorous schedule for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel. Did you feel like kind of when everything did hit the fan, I don't know, did you feel like that? Kind of like it was a relief for a second, that pause? Were you freaking out?
I was freaking out.
And that's why you started the What Is It?
Yeah, well, yeah. That's when I started DJing in my basement like crazy. Yeah, I was kind of freaking out. It took me a while. Well, hitting pause on that life, that didn't really come into my brain until fall, because summer I played in like 6 bands, so I was like, even if I played two shows, outdoor shows with those bands, I was still busy enough.
Right.
And I was DJing a lot, so it hit. It was a shock. Summer came, was able to keep busy, and then it was cold, and it was like, okay, all that is really ending now and not coming back for a while. What can we do differently? So yeah.
Well, it's good. I mean, Vermont figured out the outdoor thing. New York didn't really have that. They shut down everything.
Oh man, I feel for you. That is, we were real fortunate in that.
I came up there. I played a couple shows, and I played Stowe Cider outside, and it was like really nice, at least at the end of that. All right. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was a good catch up. I hope you come back soon. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Dimmer, the last bastion of truth in the music industry and the coolest place to get your music industry news. We're catching up with Alex Budney. It was super fun, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.